Welcome to the Create Your Happy podcast, where the mission is to empower women in their journey of self-discovery. Here we explore how to fully embrace our humanness, find our unique voice, and understand that through unconditional love and conscious relationships, we have the power to change the world. I'm your host, Christy Holt, your one and only happiness hussy, adventure guide, and conscious funpreneur. I'm on a heartfelt mission to change the world one beautiful soul at a time. Are you ready to elevate your relationships to the next level? I've got you. It's time for a messy fucking beautiful adventure. It's time to create your happy. Are you someone who likes to have control? Like, you believe that if you leave something for someone else that they'll probably fuck it up, or perhaps you just feel like you just simply can't count on anyone else to actually do what they say they're going to do or what you want them to do, so you just take matters into your own hands. And asking for help, no way, you don't want to have to rely on others or be a burden to anyone. Now, if you're exhausted trying to keep up with all the things that you have to do and you're ready for a change, this conversation is for you. Welcome back, beautiful human, to another episode of the Create Your Happy podcast. Today, I'm going to be tackling the topic of hyper-independence. I'll be exploring its roots and the impact on your relationships, of course, and we're going to be talking about why it might not be quite the high virtue that you may have been led to believe. Now, as we unpack these possibly complex themes together, I want to give you a gentle reminder that true strength lies in your willingness to be vulnerable. And as always, I invite you to try on a few new perspectives from today's conversation. I mean, really get curious, really consider these ideas. Then take what fits and leave the rest. And if you'd like to explore any particular areas in more depth or would like more clarity, please know that my inbox is always open and I really do welcome challenging discussions. So bring it on. Now, imagine a person who insists on doing everything themselves, from minor tasks, maybe like home repairs or, tidying up, making appointments, to the major decisions like financial planning. Perhaps you know someone who refuses help at every single turn. Now, some of us have been guilty of doing this even when we have perfectly competent partners who are ready and willing to help. Have you been there? Now, while this level of independence might actually initially seem commendable or impressive even, hello, Superwoman, it can often lead to strained relationships because partners or potential partners also may end up feeling unnecessary and unvalued. Hyperindependence then can therefore actually create a barrier to intimacy, leaving both parties feeling isolated. Now, this is not nearly as commendable nor as impressive as one may have been conditioned to believe. Now, if you're operating as this someone who can do it all yourself, this pattern is actually not your fault. So, phew. It is actually a result of conditioning, and often it is a trauma response. There's an awful lot of history that has led to this common pattern, especially when it comes to hyperindependence in women. And there is a significant milestone here that I want to mention because in the USA, it wasn't until 1974 that a woman could open up her own bank account without a male cosigner. And in Canada, we were just 10 years ahead, 1964, where women could open their own bank account. Now, this massive shift in financial independence has in many ways empowered women to lead single lives or to leave unsupportive relationships, fundamentally altering the family and societal structure and potentially swinging the pendulum all the way to the other side, creating this reaction response of hyperindependence, which can sound like, I don't need no man, right? So, but besides this, the requirements for partnership overall have also shifted over the years for men too. They are no longer simply the providers of the resources. Women aren't dependent on them for the providing of the resources necessarily. And since many women can now financially provide for themselves, men are actually required to step up above the role of mere provider of resources and become a provider of care too. Humans are evolving. Now, while the feminist movement has championed women's rights and opportunities, yay, it has also inadvertently added some pressure. Now, coming out of this movement in the 70s, women were told that they could have it and do it and be it all, right? That they could have the careers and the families and the personal fulfillment, and women are now doing more. But in many cases, this shift has happened without a corresponding shift in household labor divisions. So this superwoman expectation has forced many women to juggle even more responsibilities than ever without sufficient support, which often leads to both burnout and, of course, frustration and resentment. Hello, people pleasers. I have an episode just for you. So if you're in this boat and you're full of resentment and frustration because you're having to do it all without help, that might be also another place to look for some additional resources. Back to the conversation for today, though. So when we have now in this different perspective, men may not be pulling their weight, because if the wife is taking responsibility for the housework, the children, the cooking, and the family schedule management on top of whatever work she is actually doing outside of the house, things are now imbalanced. So coupling this societal expectation of women to have and be and do it all, and the somewhat recent pressure on women to play the career game on the same turf as men, but without the necessary support, right? We are expected to have our careers, but we don't have husbands to stay home and take care of the home, do we? We've ended up seeing women trying to navigate a world in which expectation and reality are creating this massive incongruence. And here we are having to attempt to create the experience of having it all. But at the same time, reality is this means taking on many additional roles in order to do it all yourself. Hyper-independence often stems from past trauma, so we can see how this conditioning has affected things and further contributes to traumatic experiences that could have been created through inconsistent parenting or even previous relationship failures. In any case, the wound is created where reliance on others has led to pain. And so we have created this response to mitigate that pain. Now, again, some of this trauma is also this collective trauma relating to the feminist movement and the things that I've shared impacting many women, and often even without a conscious awareness of the impact of this conditioning. Now, recognition of the hyper-independence pattern itself can be really transformative because awareness is what allows us to make a change. So in this case, allowing us to see the flaw in the myth that we can have it and do it and be it all, and instead learning to once again embrace vulnerability as true strength. This vulnerability allows us to connect deeply, to share our true selves, to grow together. It allows us to hold space for all, the good, the bad, the light, the dark, the certain, and the uncertain. And this embracing this wholeness that we are, helps us to eliminate the illusions. The illusion that there is separation and division within ourselves, and the illusion that there is separation and division within and from the collective humanity. We really are whole, both as individuals and as a collective humanity. And last week, I shared a little bit more on the Happiness Hussey Presents about what I see as the one simple secret to happiness. And your wholeness and your recognition, your remembrance of that wholeness is a huge part of your happiness. So please be sure to tune into that conversation to explore this topic a little further. Now back to the topic of asking for help. Now I know it can be so hard for us to ask for help when we need it. We worry that we're a burden. We worry that we ask too much. We think that other people have plenty to worry about without having to worry about us. And sometimes we even think we don't deserve their time or energy. We've all had experiences in the past where one or more of those things have felt very true. And so instead of asking and giving others the opportunity to be in community with us, we deprive ourselves of the support that we need. And we deprive, in the process of that, others of the beautiful gift of being able to support and nurture others. And one of the most beautiful gifts that we can receive is to be able to give generously to another. For this giving from our own abundance is always a gift to ourselves. So why are we so independent these days? Are there any other driving factors? Now, I want to mention that in today's very polarized world, the us versus them thinking, this me versus you thinking, really can feel inescapable. But this mindset only deepens our internal and external divisions, creating that separation. Unity and love, on the other hand, offer a path forward, reminding us that in giving, not only do we help others, but we receive the enriching experiences that we most long for. And what if we could shift our focus from independence or hyper-independence to interdependence, from doing it alone to doing it together? Because this shift from a power over approach that I'm going to do it, I'm going to take control, I'm going to make sure this thing happens, shifting to a power with approach where we can come together, relying on the strength and community. And this essentially will eliminate the illusory hierarchy of humanity, the one that we believe there are people above and below and separate from us that truly isn't serving us any longer. This unity perspective actually allows us to embrace expansion and evolution in a new way based on a foundation of unconditional love and acceptance and wholeness, rather than based on rules, conditions, and expectations that were themselves built on the fear, lack, division, and separateness. Besides, the rules are all made up anyways, right? So maybe it's time to rewrite some of these rules and write them in our favor. Another factor I wanted to bring into the conversation is there's a lot of talk out there about polarity and feminine versus masculine energy. And so I just wanted to touch on this briefly as well. Balancing our masculine energy, which is essentially the doing and the giving, with the feminine energy, which is more the being and the receiving, can lead to more fulfilled lives. Now, masculine and feminine here has nothing to do with gender. This is just the energy type, okay? So if you want, it might be easier to just do away with masculine and feminine and look at it as doing or giving versus being and receiving. One is more active, one is more passive, right? So looking at the balance of these energies, because we all possess both of these energies, right? It's not men are masculine energy and they have to lean fully into that, and women are the other way. We all possess both of these energies. And in fact, it's the finding harmony in the two that allows us to be well-rounded, contributing and receiving from our relationships, right? So that we can not just give, but we can also welcome and receive help. We can experience the joy in simply being, and we can cultivate spaces where we receive as much as we give. And of course, it's very important here. I want to mention that unconditional love is not without boundaries. It is so important to recognize that unconditional love cannot be built on a foundation of fear and this power over structure. It must be based in wholeness, this energy of harmony, completeness, and power with. This is when it is able to truly flourish, when we can see ourselves as parts of the whole. And we recognize that what is good for one is good for the whole. This illusion of us versus them is essentially dissolved, and this fear itself is dissolved, making way for the power of love, which allows us to truly flourish. And love really thrives in community. Now, of course, in our modern rush life towards self-sufficiency and I don't need anyone else, we have often overlooked the ancient wisdom that says it takes a village, right? And community isn't just about having people to turn to when things are going south. It's about having people in your world where you can share the highs and the lows, where the community and the support enriches everyone involved. And so, for instance, communities, cities, areas, countries that actively support one another in times of crisis, like a natural disaster or some other sort of like local issue that people are coming together on, the coming together allows them to recover faster and build stronger bonds. These experiences, when they're done in community, help us not only survive, but they help us to go far beyond survival so that we can truly thrive. And if you could use a little bit more support and loving community in your life, please reach out. I would absolutely be honored to support you in any way that feels really great for both of us. Having those right people to encourage you along the way truly can make all the difference as we make our way in this world. Now, as we start to close up today's discussion, I want to invite you to think about how shifting from an I can handle it all mindset to an I'm open to support mindset can really change not just your own personal happiness, because it will, but also how it can help you to strengthen your bonds in relationship with others. Remember, each time you allow yourself to be a little bit vulnerable and ask for help, you're not only helping yourself, you're actually strengthening your community by fostering trust and cooperation with another. So I invite you to think about one area of your life today where you can ask for help this week. Reach out, let someone in, and experience the power of community. I would love to hear your stories. So reach out, share them with me right here on the podcast. You can respond on Spotify, or you can reach out on social media. I would absolutely love to hear from you, because we learn and grow further, faster, quicker, more easily when we do so together. Thank you so much for joining me today and for this super important discussion. I really hope that you'll take some of these ideas and use them to create a fuller, more connected and happy life. Until next time, keep on embracing that messy fucking beautiful adventure that is life. I love you. Now let's go do some epic shit. Thank you so much for listening to today's show. I trust you were inspired to take back your power and create your happy. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love to hear from you. Please subscribe, leave a review, and share the show with the women in your life who could use a little more inspiration today. If you'd like to connect or explore the additional resources mentioned in this episode, you can find those details and links in the show notes below. As always, get out there, have fun, be you, and create your happy.